Hello and welcome to this regulatory domain session, which is part of the buildingSMART International Standards Summit, Lillestrøm 2023. Thank you for joining. My name is Sheila Karai-Lum, and I will be your moderator today. Today's session is titled Guidance for Regulators, Project Update and Workshop. Our speakers are Franco, who is Digital Projects Manager at buildingSMART Italy, and Nicholas Nisbet, who is Director at AEC3 Limited and Vice Chair of the buildingSMART UK and Ireland. This session is scheduled to last 90 minutes with time for questions at the end. The session is being recorded and will be made available in the replay section of the event as soon as possible. Before I hand over to our speakers, I would like to remind you that this is a hybrid event. For the online attendees, your microphones will remain muted for the duration of this session. If you wish to ask questions, please use the chat box and the control panel. And for those in the room, please try to keep background noise to a minimum and raise your hand if you wish to make a comment or ask a question, and one of us will bring a microphone over to you.
Okay, thank you, Sheila. To introduce BIM in the regulatory and how mature are the tools, but more than else, probably the examples and illustration from around the world of ideas of use. So in this, for this guidance, of course, we are not thinking to say any must or have to, but just we should or we could, and something, but prove this with examples. The team is the team is 31 people involved in the team. And the G4R, there is a small team dedicated to for editing the document. That is people from Bulgaria, Traice Stoyanov, Eduardo Toledo, Luis Varga, Miguel Azinha, David Fung, that is not here today, and Sheila, of course, the angel that make everything possible, and of course, and me, that is, I'm humbly in charge for coordinating the project. There are some ghost writers that are helping us in writing the guidance. One is, of course, Nick, but also Wawan Solihin from Singapore and Rick Kloster from Netherlands, but especially very strongly involved in the Estonian project. So what is the target of the document? The document target is this is the structure we think we can find in the regulatory bodies or in the public services, where are politicians, functionaries, and operation management. The document is divided in three. The guidance is divided in three parts: an executive summary, core document, and links and attachment. And the goal of the document is to be readable or be interesting for the functionaries, or to help the open BIM regulatory champions that are usually, we find that in many agencies, there are people that are very interested in introducing the BIM in the process, but it's not easy for them to talk with the functionaries or as well with the politicians. So we hope that this could be a tool to help them in this mission. How did we edit our editorial activity? We are working on the core. What is the status of the project? We are on the core of the document, and we approach the document with a movie-making approach. We started from a frame, then we moved to this. So we put all the contributions from the different people in a single document. So at the moment, we have almost finished draft, and then we demand the final editing, cutting and integration in the second phase that will start now. The result is we have an almost complete draft set of information, but the current document is very difficult to read because it's like, think a movie before the cutting. We have just scenes that are all together in the same bunch. Anyway, this is the list of the contents. If you were in Rome, probably you see that we have less items. but we will go through during the rest of the presentation, and some parts are still under construction, like the part of automatic checking and the laws and regulation. Okay, we start from this point, and perfect. And now it comes exactly Masaki Muto, who's the author of this schema. So, like in a movie, you enter in the perfect moment, and this about what we say is the general regulatory permit process. We find out that till now no one is saying that is not feasible, that is not, they don't recognize themselves in this process. Accordingly, we start with a kind of BIM for Dummies approach. Of course, please, we are in the country where probably IFC for Regulators has been founded or created, and so don't just let me say that we talk about some definition of BIM from with some basics such as the difference from CAD, that is a very old approach, but is needed if you are approaching people that doesn't know anything about the topic. Introduction to non-proprietary data structures and open standards, brief history of the growth of BIM. For the last 50 years, this was intended to give to the people, to the functionaries, to the regulatory bodies, an impression and the feeling and the trust that we are not talking about just another digital meteorite that is going to disappear in few years. The state of digital adoption construction, and every time we say that we are the slower than in the other industries, and so on. We will repeat this, but on the other side, we have also some motivation for this, like the extremely fragmented and localized ecosystem. And in my opinion, there is also another one, is that a building is a perfect database, as a very stable database, because you can just go there and measure what you see and see what is there. This is the idea, but it's not true now, because a lot of things are inside the buildings, and it's not possible to work without a model. Why adopting the standard is beneficial in business companies involved in the processes. So the idea is to show what happens in the industries and say something can be useful also for regulators, not everything, but something. And a few highlight and BIM in infrastructures, because this is a rising topic. And what we think that the likely future involvement in regulation of these assets. Introduction of BIM and GIS. Of course, after the definition of GIS, we have also a BIM and GIS integration. What we noted is that why we put some focus on this part, because we found that in the average, the regulators often knows GIS better than BIM, because they use it for cadastre, they use it for other models, for other procedures. Another thing that we discovered during the gathering of information for writing the guidance is that in BIM permitting projects, it has been possible every time to integrate the GIS and BIM when it was required, but there is not a single way to do that. It's not a standardized way. Maybe because many times the GIS is already used by the regulators in different ways related to their jurisdiction. But to make this a little bit more, let's say, easy to understand and to confirm the trust in this process, we also will include some part that we are writing with the Open Geospatial Consortium about these aspects. Now we did also a tentative map to show where the BIM in digital building permitting is used. We have this is a tentative map because it's not so easy, actually, we found, to understand exactly what is going on. And even worse is if you try to make a ranking of which country is doing better or is doing more or less, because many times you have very different situations. Of course, there are local situations very advanced in countries that are not considering this stuff from a national point of view. Something has been, thank God, we have the buildingSMART summits, and we have also the regulatory open house. There are some moments in which we try to consider to have a contact with the regulators and to have from them information from people that is working on these projects. But in the future, our regulatory domain has in plan to establish a industrial national regulatory repository for industrial and national regulatory initiatives. So we are working on this. Also, as I said, it's hard to, another thing that we found is very hard is to assess the maturity of BIM regulation. This map comes from the couple of days before I was flying here. I have to change all the colors at the moment because I put some countries are doing a lot more than I was supposing, because it's not so easy if you don't go to keep this updated. Okay, why BIM for regulatory process? Okay, improve decision making, improve quality in data communication and communication, faster collaboration, independency, accuracy, and veracity. Why not? That's the real question, in my opinion, from if you read on this. But on the other side, we have this schema that comes from our survey we did during 2020. It is about the concerns perceived by regulators about BIM, about using BIM. So it's about complexity, difficulty of business organization, cost of, as you say, there are more organizational worries, while the technical worries are a minority of the relevant figures. Another thing we tried to find during the edition is a clear quantitative figures to support improvement, and they are not available, of course. Or not, of course, I say of course because it's so hard to find from figures that are explaining what is the gain and what is the loss from the digitization. This is an experience I have since many years from big information technology projects. It's very, very hard to find a figure that say, okay, the number is 3. It's not possible, or it's every time you have so many different aspects that has to be considered, that has to be evaluated. But we have a lot of virtuous examples of BIM adoption, and we want to use this to support our idea about why BIM. We have a kind of full page of stories that comes from different countries. If you're doing something and your country is not in the list, please send me an email about because we want the stories short stories to talk about what is going on in the countries. And we also focus on the Singapore case history, the Coronet X that was presented here during RD1 by Pawan Solihin. And the story, there is a thing that has been very interesting, in my opinion, that is coming from the history, but also from the history of people that is working for a long time with this process. So here, let's say that the bite for the regulator is automatic checking. We say, if you are doing this, at the end, you have automatic checking. And this is something that can help your life, can easier your life. On the other side, what is we noted also in both in Finland and in Norway too, is the capability of create a consolidated response, not only from the documents that are coming from the industry, but also from a collaboration platform that is joining together all the agencies that are involved in. And so let me do a step back. This is what we said in 2018. This is tube map that was trying to understand what we have to do from a regulatory station to go to regulators station. As you see, is not exactly simple. Oh, things changed in these 5 years. We have three main, let's say, direction to use, three main lines. Okay, there is a straight line, the direct line that through regulatory information requirements project go to regulators with big stuff. So we say, here are the tools you have to make your activity. This is the concrete you can, or the bricks you can use to build up your process. Open house events has been very successful option in my opinion, or that some of you took part to them. They are twice a year we have these events in which open events where digital events where people from regulatory and from the business talk to each other, talk about their experience, and now the guidance is a part of this process. What happened? As soon, the more we go in the deep in this idea, the more the real G4R project is giving us more and more experience of the fact that we are not talking about a post box. We put a letter inside and someone on the other side is going to approve the letter or not, but there is a huge organization behind that has to be consolidated for giving the answer for the permitting. This is food for thought because it's something that we have to consider. RD is regulatory domain is starting to go a little bit more and more in the deep in this approach. Of course, we hope we will be able to use this to support also the consolidation of this process to support the decision of adopting OpenBIM. Why standards, why neutrality and openness are a must? Of course, this is quite, let me say, is the easy part of the business because of course, OpenBIM is open. Government and regulators need agency have to be software independent. Neutral format is very important to ensure a proper market functioning. There is a problem by public to avoid to suffer of vendor lock-in and so on. And of course, IFC OpenBIM is ISO support a stable platform. And at the moment, there is no competitor. So that's a good stuff. One thing that we discussed about last session in the RD2 is this one. Actually, the structure of OpenBIM give also this opportunity to extend the standard to comply to regulatory and to jurisdictional need. The question is, okay, flexibility is a word we don't want to have to say to regulators. that's a problem. So of course we added the sentence that say through a regulatory strictly controlled process and so on. But on one side we have to find a balance. We are try to give a balance. And so one side, not say that the standard is a block of concrete that cannot be any way used in a different way. But on the other side, we have also to say that it's not a liquid stuff that you can use it the way you want, and especially the industry can use it the way they want before the process. Okay, lower regulations. We had a long discussion on putting this or not in the guidance, but all the examples we have of national guidance are reporting something about the local and regulation, and according this guide should be used for to support the writing or the edition of national guides or to support any other to produce other documents. After that, we decide to put this just to say we know that there is this issue. Of course, we can't go in the deep in any jurisdiction because things are here very close to the local jurisdiction, other than something like EU rules or so on that are kind of federal. But it's just examples. It's not, of course, suggestions. Low at BIM is supporting the team in doing this, and there is also a question about regulation requirements and recommendation, but this is a job for Nick.
When we thought about our roadmap, I added the phrase, I use the phrase regulations, requirements, and recommendations. And I think a lot of our attention, particularly with regulators, is of course the regulations, but nothing that we're doing, everything that we're doing will also apply to client requirements and engineering requirements as well. But we also need to think about recommendations. There are third parties like insurers and advisory bodies who have very clear ideas about what should be done and how, whether it's health and safety or whether it's even the sustainability agenda. So first of all, we want to make sure that although our main focus is on the regulatory case, we know that everything we do will roll out to those other things. The other big challenge is that if we're going to support regulators, we need to create trust. And trust is a very hard thing to manufacture. And of course it's easily lost. But I think with any technology, any change, what you need to do is to bring the community with you. And to create that trust, I think there are three criteria which guarantees trust both for the regulator and the applicant. We don't want a system where the regulator has complete trust in the system and the applicants have none, or the other way around. We need trust on both sides. And the first criteria is, of course, accuracy. Can any regulation or document be converted into computer code or used as if it were computer code? And that accuracy is challenging because the language of regulations can be quite difficult grammar. I speak English mostly, and sometimes I can look at sentences in regulations and think, what is that really saying? So we need to, first and foremost, make sure that we accurately capture what is being said. That's not enough because we also need efficiency. Regulations change. I always say roughly every 3 years, but different jurisdictions and in emergencies, things can change a lot quicker. So we need a mechanism that says that we need to create and maintain our solutions in a cost-effective way. In other words, capturing the regulations is not it's not a one-off investment. It's a continuous maintenance problem. There will be updates. There will be variations. We heard yesterday that municipalities often add or modify regulations, national regulations, and so on. So we need that efficiency to say that if there is change, we can keep our systems up to date and useful. And then the last one, completeness, I think is the one that the industry, and particularly the supply side, the designers, have neglected. They've tended to focus on the interesting things. I've seen more examples and exercises of wheelchair accessibility than I have about fireproofing materials. Why? Because there's something very visual and attractive about looking at the accessibility regulations. And they're quite Obviously, they're human related and so on. But we need to think about completeness. What about the things that aren't to do with BIM? What about the processes? What about the exceptions and the allowances and so on? And if we can offer accuracy, efficiency, and completeness, then we will get the trust on both sides of the equation. The other thing, when we come to thinking about different approaches to capturing the regulations, there are three, probably four, actually. I might mention a fourth just to be complete. But the traditional approach is to transcribe it. You get three experts. You can see them there doing the medieval thing of sitting and copying text from one document into another document. And we want a regulation expert, we want a coding expert, and we want a BIM expert sitting in the same room, all doing this transcribing. And that works, but it can be quite a long process. And it can put a lot of distance between the original documents and the outcomes. The second approach is to use magic. Currently, the kind of magic that you can use include artificial intelligence, machine learning, and natural language processing. These are all forms of magic. They are all ideas that we don't have to do anything because something, maybe a top hat, maybe a computer program, will do something for us. So far, we've not seen great results. It's been very limited in what's been achieved. And I think the confidence, we've yet to see solutions that we can confidently advocate. Of course, these things produce results which look like they're solutions. The rabbit that comes out of the hat looks like a rabbit, but sometimes it's a soft toy. And then the third approach, which is the one that I've been developing, is to get the regulation experts to use coloring pencils to mark up the regulations. And that means you capture their expertise, you capture their understanding, and of course, because it's just coloring, other people can review it and comment on it and correct it. And so it becomes a consultation exercise among the regulators and us coding experts, I suppose I am, or BIM expert. We don't have to get too involved. So that's the third method. And once you have that markup, you can generate computer code, you can generate checklists, you can generate any number of things to be part of the automation. But what you're capturing is the direct expert of the regulation expert. There is a fourth one, which is not a method, which isn't on this slide, and I apologize, is of course that there are template rule engines available. We think of Solibri and Synapse and one or two others, where these tools give us template or typical rules, and you hope that they match the regulations. They're very good on the requirement side, not so good on making sure you apply those requirements for the right things. But we need to lay out that if you want automatic code compliance, you need to go down one of these four routes, or maybe a mixture of these. So that's the ideas that we want to include in the report. I've mentioned RAISE, and you can see that it can do three things, actually. First thing is it can be used to capture regulations and requirements and recommendations. And it's still the same text as you started with, it's just a bit more colorful. We can also use arrays to capture dictionaries and classifications because they are rules themselves. The rule that if I say, or if Franco says beam, I say IFC beam is a very simple and useful rule for joining regulations to BIM models. In this case, it's a dictionary of densities. And we can also apply arrays to things like models and application forms, where the information, if I provide the information, all the piles are this size, then that's a raised bit of information because it's a rule rather than a piece of information. Once we have those, we can get back onto the process.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you, Nick. And that, of course, in the process, in the document, other than this part of related to the transformation of the regulations in something machine readable, we have, of course, another list for dummies, let me say, of what are the standards that are included in BIM, other related standard. We don't want to talk too much about this, not to create confusion, but the suite of document ISO standards, the suite of documental ISO standard related to IFC, IDM, MVD, and the BSI coming ones, and their role and so on. Of course, not too technically, and the real problem here is to create something that can be readable. Another topic we start talking about is about security. Of course, security and reliability is something that is often a mantra when you start talking with the people from the regulatory or from the public services. You say, but is this secure? Is this reliable? And so on. So we start talking about this. We, in addition to some international legal requirements, would like to report something about the features for security of a national Estonian platform that has been, in my opinion, really advanced in this way. And we also reported some security highlights from different business environments involved in digital regulation, especially pharmaceutical and aerospace. This is a topic that is, in my point of view, something very we always say that let's say the building environment is the last, or is delayed compared to other digitalizations in business, in digitalization compared to other business. But it's hard to find in our documentation something that is related to other business, what they have done. Of course, this is clear if you are talking about the door, but if you are talking about security, probably we can do something very emotional, like a cut and paste. That can be done. So what we get from these two stories is that data security is mainly the responsibility of the platform hosting the data. That is what we say. But security requirements are closely related to data openness. For example, aerospace, especially military aerospace, has very low requirements for security in terms of data sharing, because they don't share data. Actually, they don't do that. So while in the pharmaceuticals, you are the other way around, because all data are open, and you are the audience that can consult that data is very, very wide. And so you have to create a really robust platform to support this kind of activities. And we are very close, I think, to this. Reliability. Of course, we talk about data freezing, the capability of signing and audit trace as required for regulatory purposes. It looks something absolutely feasible in current IFC solution, even though, in my opinion, something has to be done on signatures, of the file signatures, because there is some part that are legally not so compliant, in my opinion. Okay, and this has to be then harmonized to jurisdiction requirements. That's why I think probably we will have something to say about the signatures, and we do in the guidance. Once you accept data archiving, once you accept the models as a Lego document mold, comma, the standard provides native features for a long time archiving. The problem is the part before the comma, of course. and to create the legal architecture to make the model a legal document. Once you have received this, it looks from an IT point of view, it looks that other than having a long time availability, the BIM models are probably comparable to other legal digital legal documents that are stored or used by different regulators. Last chapter, we talk about the process transition. The approach is this one. It is in the vision of buildingSMART regulatory domain. That is graduality, but start now. And this, of course, this is very helpful. And one more time, thank you to this specific summit. I learned so many things. We have discussed so many things about this. And these examples that I'm reporting here are, of course, will be also, of course, you have had the chance to see them during the summit in the deep. Fortunately, the regulatory bodies and the public services are very open in sharing their problems during the process. So you can see the change management. There is a good. We want to talk about what they have done in Finland. That is started with a Rusty document that has been a kind of, let's say, trigger to change the mindset of the government on the process. We want to change about want to talk about their proof of concept. We deal with so many cities and their project plan that at the end came out. Also, another example we want to talk about graduality is the Estonians that are approaching a second phase in this moment of the project, and they are expecting to have many more phases in the future. So, also to clarify that sometimes having all in one shot is not so easy. I say, Tommy is coming after I've been speaking about Finland. And okay, about the most important to realize a stable and reliable BIM service that gives employees at all municipality a simple and accessible way to deal with BIM designed properly. The usability of the service and availability checks are more important than the exact number of function of checks. So once you have, don't go too much in the automatic checking. We know that is something you want, but probably is something you have to consider after you have reached the system simple and accessible. Relation with industry, we have also take some parts of the code of practice of Coronet X from Singapore, where say the industry will be required to collaborate with each other prior to submission, and qualified person will submit coordinated BIM models. That is, let me say in Italian, all the ingredients are there before you put the pizza in the oven, so everything is okay. So to consider how to collect all the information in the right way and consistently in the model. It's a key issue also. This is also a key issue in the EU digital permitting projects. As probably you know, there are 3 digital permitting projects running in EU in this moment, and many other jurisdictions. And this is a problem, a topic that is discussed also in many other jurisdictions where BIM files are required for public tenders. Something that has been already solved by the Norwegian system that has, and this here is very interesting, that is not the question is not to have the same architecture everywhere, because they have an architecture that is somehow in the opposite side from the Singapore one, but they have the portals are on the private side. They also work on API. Think about which the abstraction of the concepts that they have been able to do to reach this result. but the goals are exactly the same of the other projects, and can be and they are on available or progressing in this moment. Least but not last, training and support. We started from the Czech digital building permit to keep this an example, because they have we are doing this process of training in different countries with different jurisdictions, with different public services, with different structures. So it is not exactly this simple, but they say that they are doing this supported by the buildingSMART program, and this is, looks, it's working. We will see it soon if the project will go. That's it from my side. I'm very keen to know now the presentation from University of China.
We actually have some issues with that presentation at the moment, so I don't know if you want to do a Q&A while we try to...
Okay, well...
No, sorry, we're not ready yet. We'll do some questions first.
Yes. Firstly, I want to offer myself to review or update the information about Spain, if needed, because we are cooperating with the Spanish government, and they have introduced a BIM mandate with open BIM requirements. So if needed to review what you have written or add some cases or examples, I offer myself. On the other hand, I wanted to ask if at the document you have defined minimum BIM requirements to consider that a tender we consider a BIM tender. No? And I want to put you an example. So, for example, in Spain, ADIF is the owner of the railway infrastructure. So it's mandatory for ADIF that in all the projects, you have to use a common data environment tool. You have to use a CD workflow, naming code for all the documents, but it's not mandatory to create BIM models, for example. No? In some projects they do, but in others not. So for them, they have BIM requirements, but are not included many times, no? 3D models or BIM models, no? For example. Yes. So I don't know if you have defined what you consider, like, which are the minimum requirements to say that that's okay. So it's this tender, we can say that is another step. So.
Yeah, that's a very good question. This is something that, of course, first of all, part of this is, let me say, hidden inside the RIR project, because we say which data are ready for, which data are demanded, which PSETs can be used for regulatory purpose. And this, in one side or the other, it says should be used, that kind of data. Of course, the lower level, the MMI, or what to say, the level of accuracy that you, or the details you need for a tender or for something like this, is something that is strongly related to jurisdiction and to this, of course, to the state of the business in that country. Because if you ask something that no one can afford to comply to, there is not an idea. So minimum is a hard word to say, because if you say minimum here in Norway is different from minimum.
For them, it's a way to keep the possibility to some companies to participate in these proposals and start to know how to work with a CD workflow, and it's like I'm giving steps, facilitating, no, the way through digitalization.
I don't know, Nick, if you or Tommy, if you want to say something about this, because this is a very good question. We think that we put something about MMI and the minimum requirement that has to be, because otherwise collect BIM data, IFC data is absolutely awful. They don't need.
It can be bad data. It can certainly be bad data. Yeah, I think in the text, you're right, we should say something about minimum BIM requirements to say that they will be needed, and the kinds of things will be, there must be spaces. Certainly for building regulation, you must have spaces, because it's the use of the building that determines all the other regulations, the use of the rooms, etc. And we can say that everything else must be named entities. We don't want building element proxy or building element unknown or whatever. So we can, yeah, I think we should include the idea that such a thing is needed, but I don't think the aim of this guidance document is to trigger that process for people to carry out. So I think that might be enough.
I have thought, I have been thinking that what is this document, or set of documents maybe? What is it all about? Who is the audience and what is the purpose? And my 2 cents would be that technology is easy. That's kind of the properties are there. They are just zeros and ones, basically. What is difficult is the process and expectations. And when it comes to regulators, I think I have now worked for some years with this with these problems and with the regulators. And I think that one of the things which is which should be probably included in the guidance is expectations. What do you expect from the model? Because if the expectations are too high or too low, you might look into things which are not relevant or even wrong. And this is kind of for this type of a document, that could be kind of a leading theme in a way, that looked at from the, not from the technology point of view, but from the kind of process and how we use and how we kind of expect to use the models.
You're absolutely right. And at the start, we saw our 3 main steps, starting with the existing manual paper PDF-based process. We've said that the first step is to accept IFC open BIM models as informative. And that's an opportunity for people to practice making submissions, and to everyone to get familiar with IFC viewers, those kind of things. The second level is then to report off that model in terms of measurements, interactions, tables, reports, and so on, which will inform the user, the regulator, of the information they need to do the test they want. And then the third level is the potential for automated code compliance. And so I think, yeah, the expectation at each of those 3 steps is obviously different. And the minimum level of quality, if you're just sharing a model for information, is obviously different from if you're going to try and use it for automated code compliance or accelerated code compliance. So I think that's a useful challenge. Any other comments on the use of this document? I think we did start by saying that the role of the document is to give regulators the confidence to open up the conversation.
Yeah.
Not many regulators, last time I said this, about 6 hands shot up in the audience. It's unusual for regulators to come to conferences. And so we need something to take to or get to them to say there is something we can do. Yeah, okay.
The Spanish government, for example, in order to avoid the possible problems related to restrict the competency if they introduce BIM requirements in public procurement, they ask for us to make a kind of report analyzing some things like the software tools license price, the hardware requirements, in order to see that if are not a barrier for the companies to give a technological change, no, for that. So I think that some procurements, they have not only the objective to introduce that kind of requirements, but they have to avoid any legal problem related to restrict, for example, the competency. If they consider that the market is not mature, for example, something like that.
I mean, there's the issue around compulsory, and that's something that I don't think we can answer. That's a politician's decision whether to make it compulsory. I think the competency question is really all we can do. Well, we can point to the fact that buildingSMART has a competency program. Most industries, most countries have got a competency program around them. I think we can talk, probably should talk about the competency of regulators, and Franco could say they don't have to be experts in IoT, they don't have to be experts in BIM, but they just need a range of tools to help them do their job. I think that's a common theme, that technology gets in the way to start with, and then it goes into the background. And I think part of the maturity of buildingSMART is, for a lot of people, the technology can go into the background now, and people just use the tools. So that's a good message.
Yes, I think that is very, very worthy, and it's very worthy you think to be in the group that is working on. There is, yeah, there is. You can email us. It is not a problem. And Tommy, probably we need a guidance for regulatory expectations on OpenBIM. That's it, because probably it's a little bit, it's a higher target than probably the target we have in this, but we have to talk about expectation. So, no, not yet, not yet. As I told you, it's a work in progress, and it's just we collected a bunch of stuff and we start the cutting of the document. The final cut, it is not a director cut. It's a long process between in the team, and then it will be available. I'm confident it will be available for. No, I'm sure it will be available for the next summit. Published.
I can give you an example of bad expectations. I started to work as an architect and be manager in the first project that I started 2004, so almost 2 decades ago. That was a Helsinki City Music Center. So quite large scale project, and to be honest, quite early days of BIM and OpenBIM. We were using IFC for the collaboration, for the design collaboration in the project. And also the client wanted to utilize the BIM in many ways, and one of the needs was to use that in cost estimation and specifically in quantity takeoffs. So then finally we were kind of making the final quantity takeoffs from the models we had before the actual construction, started. So the client representative asked me that, okay, how much of the total mass of the quantities you actually got out of the model? Okay, and remember, this was 2006 or so, from the IFC models, I mean. And I kind of estimated that, okay, maybe 50%. And he replied, well, the beam is no use. You only got half. So the expectation was that we get everything. And this, remember that this was 2006. Can you get everything out today even? No. So we have to kind of educate clients and building authority to understand that what they can expect. And to be honest, I think that 2006, 50% was quite a lot. It was a great success, but yeah, the expectation was much higher. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We did do a survey 2 years ago, where we surveyed attitudes towards automatic code compliance. And that tied up quite well with a survey we did in the UK under the DECOM project. And in fact, one of the EU projects, Accord, has reused the same survey within their community. So we're quite confident that we've taken as good a measure as we can around the world to sense what the expectation is. Obviously, we're trying to infuse and inform to shift that as well. I think one of the strengths of buildingSMART in this area was that we got the survey translated into a number of different languages. And suddenly we found our reach. Instead of just speaking English, which is all I can do, we reached a much wider community. So we have done that thing, and we're using it. And Franco showed some of the results. Okay. Any other comments on what we're doing? Question? Well, we'll have this presentation in a moment. But, are we doing the right things is always the question that I like to ask.
Which one?
Right under the desk. Any other thoughts from anyone? Okay. Sheila? Oh, one more then.
Quick one. I have to apologize because I joined the presentation late, so I might have missed something. But I understand there is this document that you're making available to provide guidance to the public sector for implementing, helping them develop,
convincing them.
helping them invest in automation and interoperability. And so it's not available yet, but I wonder, would it be available in multiple languages? Is there an effort that we can partake to make this available in multiple languages?
Absolutely, yes. The second step of the guidance edition is to translate it in multiple languages, because we discovered the importance, the importance of languages when you start talking about regulatory, because the people that is involved in the regulatory, even though they speak English perfectly, they have to compare their situation, their jurisdiction that is not written in English with what is reported in the guidance, as we did for the survey. It was being very useful and we had also some discussion with Masaki Muto, with the Japanese, for the Japanese terms to use in a question. But just making questions in different languages is hard, but for the guidance, for sure, we want to proceed in much many languages as we can.
Thank you.
So I think we're ready now to invite Dr. Gauguin to present from the University of Shanghai. I've pronounced those things wrong, and I apologize. So please introduce yourself. And
I guess I have this one.
you've got that, yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much. My name is Gao Ge. It's a pronunciation in China. This is my colleague Ke Ziyi. We are from Tsinghua University in China. Thank you very much for this opportunity to introduce the beam checking situation in China and our solution. It's C-beams, an open beam plus solution for customizable beam checking based on buildingSMART and China national standards. Right. Okay. Okay. Right now, beam checking is happening all across China, but the current state is very fragmented. Each city. Does it work? Okay. Each city has its own city format. It's not IFC. It's kind of like XDB, NGM, and QDB. I believe you've never heard of that kind of formats because it's designed from a specific software vendors for a city or for a single city. Besides, the terminology used in the model and the modeling requirements and the building regulations are all different. Look at the image on the left, which is the map of China in the Warring State period, 2,000 years ago. The standard among each states were not unified, and the communication between states are hindered. So what happened after the Warring State period of China? The Qing dynasty unified the entire country and standardized things. And on the right is the ancient Chinese characters from different Chinese states. You can guess what it is. It's horse. For example, characters, currencies, metrics, and wheel tracks were standardized, and the people can communicate much better. Today, I think we are at the Warring State period of beam in China. And our solution based on open beam is the key role to standardizing China's beam checking. Our project has 4 steps: exporting IFC models from beam software, model quality checking, and building code checking, and creating city information models. First, IFC models are exported from both domestic and international beam software. Second, we use MVD, not IDS, to do the model quality checking. Third, the model will go through the building code checking supported by structured natural language. It is a Chinese national standard proposed by our team. And there is a building dictionary. It is used to unify the terminology between models and the terminology in the building codes. Finally, the model will enter a city information model platform to support a city-level application. This process is based on the C-beams framework for beam checking. And obviously, there are 5 letters in C-beams. C means China, B means building dictionary, I means IFC, M means MVD, S means SNL. We will take our practice in Shenzhen, the 3rd largest city of China and the most open city in China, as an example to explain these 5 letters. First, C. There are thousands of building codes in China, and there are hundreds of Chinese cities with a population of about 1 million. And there are dozens of new beam software companies in China in recent years. And the link is missing. What we are trying to do is create a bridge between open beam technologies and China national standards. We create C-beams, the unified beam checking framework to link the different cities, softwares, and building codes. Then let's talk about the B. The building dictionary. Building dictionary is a tool that maps terminology of models to the terminology of building codes. For example, in this slide, terms from this MVD, wall, fire endurance, and the terms from the structure natural language, cable well, wall, fire endurance are mapped together. In Shenzhen, the building dictionary is composed mainly by 2 China national standards, and we are added extended terms in Shenzhen city standard to ensure the building codes can be covered. And IFC, we all know that IFC comes with a lot of advantages like its neutrality, openness, and precision. But in China, people still need help to implement IFC in beam checking and see, for example, the loss of information in IFC export, the lack of visualization, and the relatively large file size. So we released a Shenzhen city standard, that is Shenzhen 114, to specify the way of implementing IFC in Shenzhen. And first, about the information loss, we proposed a key feature list. It defines the necessary information and the standard export manner of IFC. Secondly, visualization is improved by 5 LOR, level of rendering. In level 0, there are no materials or shading. In level 1, there is basic coloring. In level 2, we define a standardized name site of IFC material. Render is consistent yet limited. In level 3, user textures can be exported to reflect the desired appearance. It is only supported by a few software. In level 4, there are UV textures which can represent more detailed texture effects. In level 5, there is IFC with physical-based rendering property set. And the last IFC improvement in the data compression is the data compression tool for large IFC files. We have collected thousands of models in Shenzhen. The average compressed model is only a quarter of the original size. The next letter is M, the model quality checking with MVD. We categorize common MVD rules to 12 templates. Users can customize MVD requirements on cbeams.org.cn by these templates. It's a platform developed by us. They can also export MVD into machine-readable format and human-readable format. This video shows the quality checking process. We are editing on this platform. You can input and choose the properties, the classifications. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. Now we can export the MVD files. Okay, just skip it. Yeah. Oh. And let's talk about S, structure natural language. It is a machine-readable language of building codes, but also have some extent of human readability. Take this clause from fire prevention code, for example. The fire endurance of the wall around the cable well should not be less than 1 hour, and following our steps, it could be converted to machine-readable SNL formats. We designed 25 sentence structures in SNL. In this case, there are 2 types of sentence structure being used. Then, tons of objects and properties from the building dictionary can be referenced in the sentence, such as building, cable well, wall, and fire endurance over here. Moreover, 48 common relationships are supported in SNL, like a geometry relationship, orientation relationship, and distance relationships. In this example, the terms heads and boundary heads are both relationships. Additionally, 17 operators and comparators are defined to enable logical operation, like the greater than or equal here. By combining these features, numerous building code checking rules can be customized. Currently in Shenzhen, 102 construction codes, 166 5 provision codes, and 56 planning approval codes are translated to SNL rules. And we use the 1,600 properties to do this. There's another video showing the SNL editing and the check process, but I'm not sure whether it's properly played. By using CPU's auto CN, human-readable regulations can be converted to machine-readable rules directly. And this is the SNL rules. It's a Chinese version. For example, orientation relationship has check that the transformer room on the first floor should have an exterior wall. And the geometry relationship in check that the evacuation door of the transformer room on the first floor should in the exterior wall. And the distance orientation relationship, vertical distance outside the boundary. Check that there should be an evacuation light sign directly above the safety exit. And the distance relationship, path distance. Check that the distance from any position in the classroom to the evacuation door should be less than 27.5 meters. And the semantic relationship has property. Check that the clear width of the safety exit should not be less than 900 millimeters. Yeah, this is a demonstration of the SNL checking. We find the design of SNL valuable in terms of making building codes more computable and customizable. And we hope we share it with others, with you. As a result, there are 4 outcomes. First of all, an extensible framework, CBIMS, is released. Building Dictionary, IFC, MVD, SNL are combined for BIM checking for different Chinese cities. Secondly, this solution pushed the newly emerged Chinese software vendors to uniformly export IFC for e-permission in Shenzhen. Thirdly, we applied an open BIM to megacity level. Up to now, in terms of new buildings, 6,362 high-quality IFC models for 219 projects in Shenzhen have been delivered utilizing this solution. Additionally, there have been 14,220 high-quality IFC models from 741 existing building projects delivered using this solution as well. This includes many projects without existing CAD drawings, whose IFC models are created from point clouds. Finally, numerous IFC models are collected and imported into a city information model platform to support the city-level application. Facts have been proven that OpenBIM technology has good feasibility in data storage, loading, management, and visualization. Currently, we are just use it in Shenzhen, but we are working to apply this framework to more Chinese cities. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. That's very impressive and exciting. Does anyone have any questions?
I'm not an engineer, I'm not a technician, but you say you've been able to embed in the designing also the rules, or exactly you make the design, make the model, and then you compare it with the rules? When you said before about the fire exit and so on. Sorry, I'm not a technician.
Yeah, fire exit.
Yeah. Did you put the rule of putting the light on the door and so on into the model, or in the
No, of course not. We just make the model, and we have to appoint it's a kind of what kind of exit it is, but we don't input the numbers of the distance. We just compute the number of distance from the model.
Yeah.
I have no questions, but I just comment that I'm quite happy to see that what we have discussed, for example, in the regulatory information requirements project, the findings are exactly the same, that the importance of the relationships, like you said, that what is the cause for the fire exit light, that there is a cause and effect type of that. And yeah, no questions. It was really good presentation. Thank you for that. And I really, yeah, I'm really pleased that you are joining now the Regulatory Information Requirements project. I think that we can benefit. First of all, you have 14,700 and something examples already, which are living examples that the things that you had your work. So
yeah, actually the 14,000 they are existing buildings. Existing buildings just need the model quality checking. They don't need the building code checking because they already exist there.
Yeah.
But the new buildings, they have to be checked by the building codes.
Impressive.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Unless anyone has any other questions, I'd like to thank Franco for leading the project and your contribution.
Okay, thank you, Nick. Thank you to all of you. And then we see you tonight to the dinner one more time, the gala dinner. And of course, the participation to the project is open, absolutely open, very, very, very welcome. Okay, thank you.